My stepdaughter sent me a text message. You aren't coming to the wedding. It's a family event, not for strangers. But I was the one who paid for every single detail. Days later, she texted me again. I need the keys to the condo you were going to buy me. I took a deep breath and replied, it's already been sold. That day, I finally understood who she really was. But let me tell you from the beginning how a man who built a pharmaceutical empire through 40 years of work discovered that, to his stepdaughter, he was nothing more than a convenient ATM who could be insulted when she no longer needed him. And how that exclusion from a wedding I myself financed became the moment I finally saw the truth. My name is Marcus Rhodes, and I am 58 years old. I am the founder of Rhodes Pharmaceuticals, a company I started 36 years ago with a small lab in a warehouse district in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, we have production facilities across 5 states. We distribute to more than 3,000 pharmacies nationwide and generate annual revenues of $300 million. We employ over 1,000 people. I didn't inherit any of it. My father was a high school teacher, and my mother worked at a fabric shop. I was the first in my family to go to college. I studied pharmaceutical chemistry, working the night shift as an assistant at a local drugstore. I graduated with honors, but with $0 in the bank. For 10 years, I worked for other labs, learning every aspect of the business. And when I finally managed to gather the capital to open my own laboratory, I worked 18-hour days for years, formulating medications, managing production, personally selling to pharmacies, all to build something from nothing. And I succeeded. The business grew. The medications we developed gained a reputation for quality and fair pricing. At some point during those 36 years, I became what people call a successful man. My first wife, Patricia, was with me for the first 20 years of the business. We married young, struggled together, and celebrated every small victory. But as the business grew, we drifted apart. It wasn't anyone's fault. We simply grew in different directions. We divorced 8 years ago. It was amicable and fair. I gave her a generous settlement. She moved on with her life, and I moved on with mine. We never had children, something we always regretted but eventually accepted. 5 years ago, I met Eleanor Hawthorne. She was 42, a widow, and a single mother to a 22-year-old daughter named Andrea. Eleanor worked as an event coordinator at a high-end hotel where I had organized a medical conference. She was beautiful, intelligent, and kind. We talked throughout the conference, and I felt a connection I hadn't felt in years. I asked for her number. We went out to dinner, and 3 months later, we were in a serious relationship. Eleanor told me about her life. She had married young to a man who turned out to be irresponsible. He left her with a small daughter and no financial support. Eleanor worked multiple jobs to raise Andrea, to ensure she got an education, and that she never went without. Andrea is my world, Eleanor told me, tears welling up in her eyes. I sacrificed everything for her, and now that she's grown, I can finally start thinking about myself. I was moved by her story and her dedication as a mother. When I met Andrea, I wanted to be part of helping them. Andrea was pretty and well-educated. She was studying graphic design at a private university that Eleanor could barely afford on her salary. When we first met, Andrea was courteous but distant. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Rhodes. Mom talks about you a lot." "The pleasure is mine. Your mom is an incredible woman," I replied. "I know. She's always been the best mom in the world." During the first few months of my relationship with Eleanor, Andrea maintained that distant politeness. She wasn't hostile, but she wasn't warm either. Eleanor explained that it was normal. Andrea is used to it just being the two of us. Give her time to get used to you. I gave her time, but I also tried to connect with Andrea. I asked her about her studies, her interests, and her future plans. Her answers were always brief, polite, but lacking any depth. 3 years ago, Eleanor and I got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony with only close family and friends. Andrea was there. She smiled in the photos and said all the right words, but when I hugged her and said, "Now you're my daughter, too," I felt her body tense up. After the wedding, Eleanor, Andrea, and I moved into my home in Buckhead, an exclusive neighborhood in Atlanta. It was a large house with enough space for everyone. I gave Andrea the best room after ours, with a private bathroom, a balcony, the works. "Andrea, I want you to feel comfortable here. This is your home now," I told her, when I showed her the room. "Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. That's very generous of you. You can call me Marcus or Dad Marcus if you feel comfortable. Mr. Rhodes sounds too formal for family. I prefer Mr. Rhodes if you don't mind. It's more respectful." Eleanor assured me it was only a matter of time, that Andrea would eventually feel more at ease. But months went by, and Andrea continued to treat me with that formal courtesy that maintained distance. What did change was her attitude toward my money. 2 months after moving in, Andrea came to me with Eleanor to ask for something. "Mr. Rhodes, Andrea wants to take a special digital design course in Barcelona. It's an incredible opportunity, but it costs around $55,000. This was the converted price of 80,000 pesos for a high-cost international course, which is common in the U.S. Do you think we could?" "Of course. If it's good for her education, I'd be happy to pay for it." Andrea's face lit up for the first time since I'd met her. "Seriously? Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. This is going to be amazing for my career." I paid for that course, and then I paid for others. I later bought her a new computer, professional design software, a digital tablet, everything she needed for her studies. With every purchase I made, Andrea became slightly friendlier. Not warm, but at least she talked more. "Mr. Rhodes, thank you so much for the computer. It's perfect. I'm glad it helps. I want you to have the best tools. You are very generous." Generous? That was the word I would hear 1,000 times in the following years, but never Dad or "I love you." It was always, "You are very generous." When Andrea graduated 2 years ago, I bought her a new car, a compact European SUV, perfect for a young professional. Eleanor cried with emotion. Andrea smiled and gave me a brief hug. "Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. I'm proud of you. You graduated with honors. Well, I couldn't have done it without your financial support." "Your financial support, not your support." "Not thank you, Dad, but your financial support, as if I were a sponsor rather than family." But Eleanor was happy, and I loved Eleanor deeply. So I continued to support Andrea, hoping the relationship would eventually become more genuine. After graduation, Andrea started working at a design agency. She earned a decent salary for a recent graduate, about $2,500 a month. But she continued to live with us, paying no rent and not contributing to household expenses. "Andrea, now that you're working, have you thought about finding your own place?" I asked one day during dinner. Eleanor's expression immediately changed. "Marcus, why would you want Andrea to leave? There's plenty of space here. I don't want her to leave. I just thought perhaps Andrea would want her independence." "I'm fine here," Andrea quickly interjected. "Besides, I'm saving for the future." "Saving for what?" "For when I get married. So I have some startup capital." "You're getting married? I didn't know you had a boyfriend. Well, I don't have a boyfriend now, but eventually I will get married. And when that happens, I'm going to need money to start my life. The way she said it, so calculated, so planned, unsettled me. But I didn't say anything because Eleanor gave me those eyes that said, please, let it go. 6 months later, Andrea brought a boyfriend home. His name was Russell. He was 28 and worked as a sales manager at a tech company. He came from an upper-middle-class family. Not rich, but comfortable. Mr. Rhodes, this is Russell. Russell, this is my stepfather. Stepfather, not dad. No, Marcus, my stepfather. As if she needed to clarify that there was no real relationship between us. Russell was polite and ambitious, and clearly impressed by my house and my success. During dinner, he asked me many questions about the business, how I built the company, my strategies. Mr. Rhodes, what you've achieved is impressive. Andrea told me you started with a small lab, and now you have a huge company. You must be very proud. It was a lot of work for many years. And Andrea is lucky to have such a successful stepfather. There it was again, successful stepfather, as if my primary value was my bank account. After that dinner, Andrea and Russell became an official couple, and the requests for money intensified. Mr. Rhodes, Russell and I want to take a trip to Europe. It would be good for my portfolio as a designer to see European architecture. Could you help us with the tickets? Andrea, you have a job. Can't you save up for the trip? I am saving, but it would take months on this way. And Mr. Rhodes, you always say you invest in experiences. This would be an educational experience. Or Eleanor always intervened at these moments. Marcus, if you can help them, it would be nice. Andrea works hard. I paid for the trip, $20,000 for 2 weeks in Europe. Andrea posted hundreds of photos on social media, all happy, all in beautiful locations. She didn't tag me in a single photo, nor did she thank me in any caption. But when she returned, she gave me a gift, an expensive pen from a Parisian boutique, so you can think of us when you use it. A $500 pen bought with the money I had given them for the trip. A year ago, Andrea came home with exciting news. Russell had proposed. Eleanor was euphoric. She cried with happiness and hugged Andrea. My baby is getting married. Andrea looked at me. Mr. Rhodes, Russell and I want to have a beautiful wedding, something memorable. Can we talk about it? Of course. Congratulations, Andrea. We sat down, and Andrea pulled out a laptop with a complete presentation. It had photos of venues, dresses, and decorations, all perfectly planned. We're thinking of the Foundry, a beautiful industrial space in downtown. The rental fee is $15,000, and then there's catering, flowers, music, the photographer, the videographer. In total, we're estimating around $95,000. $95,000? Yes. Russell and I can contribute $15,000 between us, and we were hoping you and Mom could help with the rest. Eleanor took my hand, but Marcus, it's my daughter's wedding, my only daughter. I know it's a lot. It's fine. I'll pay for it. Really? Andrea's face lit up as I had never seen it before. Mr. Rhodes, you are incredible. I'm going to have the wedding of my dreams. I just want you to be happy, Andrea. Over the following months, I kept writing checks for the venue, for the wedding dress that cost $6,000, for the flowers that cost $7,000, for the premium photographer that cost $5,000. Every week, there was a new invoice, a new request. Mr. Rhodes, we found the perfect cake, but it costs $3,500. Mr. Rhodes, we want special lights on the ceiling of the venue. That's another $4,500. Mr. Rhodes, we need custom invitations from a famous designer. $3,000. And I paid for everything because I loved Eleanor, and because, in some corner of my heart, I hoped this would bring me closer to Andrea, that she would finally see me as something more than a wallet. 2 months before the wedding, Andrea came with another request. Mr. Rhodes, Russell and I have been talking. After the wedding, we're going to need a place to live. We were wondering if you could help us with the down payment for a condo. How much is the down payment? We're looking at a very nice place in Midtown, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, covered parking. The down payment is $35,000. Andrea, $35,000 is a lot of money. I know, but Mr. Rhodes, it's an investment. The condo will appreciate in value, and Russell and I will pay the mortgage. We just need help with the down payment. Eleanor gave me those pleading eyes. Marcus, please, it's for them to start their life together. Let me think about it. But Andrea didn't wait. For the next 2 weeks, she bombarded me with information about the condo. Photos, blueprints, financial analyses, showing how it was a great investment. And I finally caved. All right, I'll give you the money for the down payment. But Andrea, I want you to understand that this is the last major gift. After this, you and Russell need to be independent. Of course, Mr. Rhodes. And I promise we will pay every cent of the mortgage. This is just to help us get started. I wrote the check for $35,000, put it in an envelope, and gave it to Andrea. She took it, put it in her bag, and gave me a quick hug. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. You are very generous. There was that word again, generous. 1 week before the wedding, when I had already spent more than $130,000 between the wedding and the condo down payment, I received a text message from Andrea, a message that would change everything. Mr. Rhodes, I need to talk to you about the wedding guest list. What about it? Well, the venue has limited capacity, and Russell and I have been reviewing it, and there are too many guests. We need to cut back. I understand. Who are you going to cut? And then came the message that broke my heart. We decided that you aren't going to the wedding. It's a family event, not for strangers. I hope you understand. I read the message 3 times, thinking perhaps I had misunderstood, but it was clear. Andrea, the stepdaughter I had supported for 5 years, whose education, courses, trips, car, and now a $95,000 wedding and a condo down payment I had funded, was telling me I was not welcome at that wedding because I was a stranger. I stared at the message for whole minutes. The words repeated in my mind. It's a family event, not for strangers. A stranger. After 5 years of paying for everything, supporting every dream, and trying to build a relationship, I was still a stranger. I replied with a single question. Does Eleanor know about this decision? Andrea's answer came quickly. I haven't told her yet, but Mr. Rhodes, I hope you can be mature about this. It's my day, and I only want to be surrounded by people who truly matter to me. People who truly matter to her. So I, who had paid for every detail of that special day, didn't truly matter to her. I called Eleanor immediately. Are you busy? I need to talk to you. I'm in a meeting. Can it wait? No, I need you to come home now. Something in my tone alarmed her. Did something happen? Are you okay? I'm physically fine, but we need to talk now. Eleanor arrived home an hour later, worried. Marcus, what happened? You scared me. I showed her Andrea's message. I watched her face go from confusion to shock to what looked like horror. This has to be a mistake. Andrea can't be serious. Read the message again. It's very clear. But Marcus, you've paid for everything, the entire wedding. How can she tell you not to come? Because, according to your daughter, I'm a stranger, not family. Eleanor immediately grabbed her phone and called Andrea. She put it on speaker so I could listen. Andrea? What is this you sent Marcus? Did he tell you already? Andrea's voice sounded irritated, not remorseful. Mom, I need to explain. The venue has limited capacity. Andrea, Marcus has paid for your whole wedding, over $75,000, and you tell him he can't go? Mom, don't you understand? It's my wedding, and I want it to be perfect. And having Mr. Rhodes there would be awkward. Awkward? Why would it be awkward? Because, Mom, all my friends know my real dad left when I was little. If Mr. Rhodes is there, they'll ask questions. They'll want to know who he is. And I don't want to have to explain that he's my stepfather who's only been in our lives for 5 years. Andrea, Marcus is my husband. He's your family now. He's your husband, Mom, not my dad. And frankly, he's just been someone who pays for things. We don't have a real relationship. Those words felt like daggers. Someone who pays for things. That was all I was to her. Eleanor had tears in her eyes. Andrea, this is so wrong. Marcus has been incredibly generous to you. I know, and I'm grateful, but that doesn't make him family. Mom, please understand me. I want a wedding where everyone is truly a part of my life. And Mr. Rhodes, while he has been generous, isn't really a part of my life. Then perhaps Mr. Rhodes should reconsider his generosity, I said with a cold voice I barely recognized as my own. What? Andrea's voice changed, laced with panic. Mr. Rhodes, don't be like that. I'm just being honest about my feelings. And I am being honest about mine. Andrea, for 5 years I've tried to build a relationship with you. And now you tell me I'm just someone who pays for things, that I'm not family. Then perhaps you're right. Maybe I shouldn't go to your wedding? In fact, maybe I shouldn't continue paying for your wedding? What? You can't do that. Everything is already contracted. Everything is already paid for. Not everything. The final payment for several vendors is still pending. And the condo, the down payment I gave you, hasn't been fully processed by the real estate company Mjøsen yet. Mr. Rhodes, you're being irrational. This is about my wedding, not about you. You're right. It is about your wedding. The wedding I am paying for. And if I'm not family enough to be there, then I certainly shouldn't continue financing your family event. Mom, tell him something. Eleanor looked at me with a torn expression. Marcus, I understand you're hurt. I'm hurt by what Andrea said too, but the wedding is in 3 weeks. We can't cancel everything now. I'm not suggesting canceling. I'm suggesting Andrea and Russell pay what's left. If I'm a stranger, then you can treat me like one and not expect me to keep funding your family event. That's revenge. No, Andrea, that's a consequence. You spent 5 years taking my money while maintaining emotional distance. And now, when you no longer need me because you have everything you wanted, you discard me. But it doesn't work that way. I hung up the phone. Eleanor was crying. Marcus, please. I know Andrea was wrong, but she's my daughter. I can't let her go without a wedding. I'm not asking you to leave her without a wedding. I'm saying I'm not paying anymore. Eleanor, did you hear what your daughter said? That I'm just someone who pays for things? That I'm not family? Do you honestly expect me to keep funding someone who sees me like that? She's young. She doesn't understand what she's saying. She's 27 years old. She's old enough to understand exactly what she's saying. And Eleanor, you need to understand something. This is not just about Andrea. It's about respect. If I allow her to treat me like this without consequences, I'm teaching her that it's okay to use people while you need them and discard them when you don't. Eleanor cried for hours, and I, sitting in my study, reviewed all the wedding contracts. I had paid roughly $50,000 in deposits and initial payments, but another $45,000 remained outstanding in final payments. The catering balance, the final payment for the photographer, flowers, music, and the condo down payment. Although I had already given the check, it hadn't been fully processed by the real estate company yet. I could cancel it. That night, I barely slept. Part of me felt I was being too harsh, that Andrea was young and had made a mistake. But another part, the part that had been used for 5 years, knew this was necessary. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Mr. Fuentes. Mr. Fuentes, I need to cancel some payments. What kind of payments? Payments related to my stepdaughter's wedding, and I need to stop a check for $35,000. May I ask why? I told him the situation. Mr. Fuentes listened in silence. Mr. Rhodes, legally, you are fully within your rights. The payments were voluntary. There is no contract compelling you to continue, and the check can be stopped if it hasn't been cashed. Then proceed. Over the next few days, I canceled everything. I called every vendor and explained I would no longer cover the outstanding balances. Some were understanding, others annoyed. But all understood that without my payment, they would need to contact Andrea and Russell directly and would have to cancel. And I canceled the check for the condo down payment. 3 days after my message to Andrea, she showed up at the house. She burst in, furious, with Eleanor trailing behind her, trying to calm her. Mr. Rhodes, what did you do? The florist called me, saying you canceled the payment. The photographer, too. I did exactly what I said I would do. I'm no longer paying for your wedding, but everything is planned. We don't have the money to pay for everything that's left. That's your problem, Andrea, not mine. You yourself said I'm just someone who pays for things, that I'm not family. So I decided to stop paying. You're being ridiculous. It's just a wedding. You don't have to take it so personally. Just a wedding? Andrea, it's your wedding, the most important event of your life so far. And you told me I wasn't important enough to be there, that I was a stranger. So why would a stranger pay for your family event? Because you're rich. Because you can pay for it without a problem. Because... She stopped, realizing what she was about to say. Finish the sentence, Andrea. Because what? Because it's your responsibility. Mom married you. That makes you responsible for helping us. No, marrying your mother doesn't make me responsible for financing your adult life. Andrea, you're 27, you have a job, your fiancé has a job. If you want an expensive wedding, pay for it yourselves. We can't pay $50,000 in 3 weeks. Then have a more modest wedding, or postpone until you can afford it, or ask for a loan. There are many options, but I am no longer one of them. Andrea turned to Eleanor. Mom, are you going to let him do this? He's going to ruin my wedding. Andrea, you ruined the relationship when you told him he was a stranger. Marcus has been incredibly generous for years, and this is how you repay him. But Mom, he's your husband. You should be on my side. I'm on the side of what's right. And what's right is that you owe Marcus an apology. A real apology. Not just empty words. Andrea looked at me with poorly concealed fury. Fine. I'm sorry, Mr. Rhodes. Happy? Now can you go back to paying for the wedding? That's not an apology. That's manipulation. What else do you want me to say? Nothing. Because we both know you don't really mean it. You just feel you lost access to my money. Andrea stormed out of the house, slamming the door, and Eleanor stayed there, tears streaming down her face. Marcus, she's my daughter. My only daughter. I can't leave her without a wedding. You're not leaving her without a wedding. She'll have her wedding. She'll just have to pay for it herself. But she can't. She doesn't have the money. Then she should have a wedding she can afford. Eleanor, do you really not see the problem here? Your daughter used me for 5 years, and now that she has everything she wanted, she discards me. And you want me to keep funding her? It's not like that. Andrea made a mistake. But Marcus, if you cancel everything, there's going to be permanent resentment. Our family will be broken. Eleanor, the family is already broken. I just realized it. For the next week, Andrea tried various tactics. First, it was pleading texts. Mr. Rhodes, please reconsider. I know I was wrong. Please don't ruin my wedding. Then came the manipulative texts. Mr. Rhodes, my mom is suffering because of this. Do you really want to hurt your wife? And then, when nothing worked, came the hostile texts. You're a horrible man, a bitter old man who uses his money to control people. I'm glad I excluded you from the wedding. You don't deserve to be there. I didn't reply to any of them because every message only confirmed what I already knew. Andrea never saw me as family. She only saw me as a source of money. 2 weeks before the wedding, Andrea and Russell came together. Russell looked uncomfortable, clearly not wanting to be there. Mr. Rhodes, I came to apologize personally, Andrea said with a voice that tried to sound sincere, but was clearly rehearsed. I was wrong. I shouldn't have called you a stranger. You have been important in our lives, and of course, we want you to come to the wedding. Oh yes? Now I'm welcome. Yes, I talked to Russell and Mom, and we all agree you should be there. Please, Mr. Rhodes, forgive me. And please, go back to paying what's left. Are you inviting me because you genuinely want me there? Or because you need my money? Andrea looked at Russell, who nodded his head. Because I want you there. Because you're important to Mom. And because you've been generous. And I didn't appreciate it as I should have. See, Russell? Your future wife can't even lie convincingly. Andrea, we both know the truth. If you had the money to pay for the wedding, I'd still be a stranger who doesn't deserve to be there. Russell finally spoke. Mr. Rhodes, with all due respect, I understand why you're angry. Andrea made a huge mistake, but the wedding is in 2 weeks. All the guests have already RSVP'd. We can't cancel now. I'm not suggesting you cancel. I'm saying you pay for it yourselves. We don't have $50,000. Then take out a loan. Use credit cards. Ask Russell's family for help. Sell something. There are many options, but I am no longer one of them. Mr. Rhodes, this is going to ruin our credit. We're going to start our marriage in debt. You should have thought about that before Andrea decided to insult me. They left without achieving anything, and I felt not satisfied, but at least firm in my decision. Eleanor stopped speaking to me almost entirely. She slept in the guest room. She ate at different times. She clearly blamed me for Andrea's predicament. 1 week before the wedding, I received another text from Andrea. This one was different. It wasn't pleading or hostile. It was direct. Mr. Rhodes, Russell and I found a solution for the wedding payments, and we borrowed from his family and used our credit cards. We're going to be in debt for years. But at least we'll have our wedding. I hope you're proud of yourself. But there's something else. I need the keys to the condo you were going to buy me. The real estate company says the check was canceled. I need another check, or the keys, if you bought it another way. There it was. After everything, after the insults, after the exclusion, after forcing her to find her own way to pay for the wedding, Andrea still expected me to give her the condo. The audacity was impressive and revealing. I took a deep breath before replying and typed the words that would change everything. It's already been sold. Andrea's response arrived in seconds. What? You sold my condo? It wasn't your condo. It was a condo I considered buying for you. Consideration that ended when you called me a stranger. But you promised me. No, Andrea. I said I would help you with the down payment. It was never a promise, it was a possibility. A possibility that ended when you demonstrated your true character. This is revenge, pure revenge. This is consequence. And Andrea, here is the truth you need to hear. For 5 years, I treated you like family. And for 5 years, you treated me like a bank. You took every dollar I gave you, but you never gave me respect. You never gave me genuine affection. You never treated me as anything more than a source of money. And when you finally had everything you wanted from me, you discarded me. That's not true. No? Then explain, when was the last time you spoke to me without needing something? When was the last time you asked me how I was? When was the last time you treated me like family instead of a benefactor? Silence. Because she couldn't answer. Because the truth was obvious. That day I understood who you really were, Andrea. And it was the day I finally stopped pretending we could have a real relationship. Andrea's response was explosive. It wasn't one message. It was 10 messages in a row, each more furious than the last. You can't do this to me. That condo was mine. You promised me. I'm going to sue. My mom is going to divorce you because of this. Russell says you're a manipulator. All my friends are going to know what kind of person you are. You're going to regret this. You'll never meet your grandchildren. Answer me. I didn't reply, because there was nothing left to say. Andrea had shown her true face, and I had made my decision. That night, Eleanor finally confronted me. She walked into my study, where I was reviewing work documents. Marcus, we need to talk about Andrea. There's nothing to talk about. How can you say that? She's my daughter, and you left her without the condo you promised her. I didn't promise her anything. I gave her a check, then canceled it when she made it clear she only valued me for my money. Marcus, I understand you're hurt. I'm hurt by what Andrea said too, but this is going too far. You canceled the wedding payments. Fine. She needed to learn a lesson. But the condo, Marcus, that was her future. Her future that she expected to build with my money. Eleanor, don't you see the pattern? Andrea never planned on being independent. She planned on living off the unlimited financial support she assumed I would provide forever. She's my daughter. Of course she expected our support. Our support, Eleanor, not my money. There's a difference. Support means being there emotionally, giving advice, helping during real emergencies. It doesn't mean financing a luxurious lifestyle for an adult who has her own job. So what? You're going to cut her off completely? I'm not going to give her any more money. If she wants a relationship with me that isn't based on finances, I'm open to that. But Eleanor, I need you to understand something. If you force me to choose between my dignity and your daughter, I'm going to choose my dignity." Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. "You're giving me an ultimatum. Her or you. I'm telling you, I refuse to be used. And if you defend her behavior, if you continue to expect me to finance someone who treats me with contempt, then we have a bigger problem than Andrea. She's my daughter, Marcus. I can't just abandon her. I'm not asking you to abandon her. I'm asking you to stop enabling her to use me, to stop being her accomplice in treating me like an ATM. You're not her accomplice. You're her mother, and mothers protect their daughters. Protecting her would be teaching her that actions have consequences. Protecting her would be helping her develop independence and responsibility. What you are doing is not protecting her. It is enabling her." Eleanor left the study crying, and I was left there, in the marriage I had thought was solid, realizing it had always been conditional. Conditional on me financing Andrea. Conditional on me accepting any treatment Andrea dished out. Conditional on my willingness to be used. The wedding day arrived. I didn't go. I stayed in my study, working, trying not to think of Eleanor celebrating with Andrea while our marriage crumbled. That evening, I saw the photos on social media. The wedding looked beautiful. Andrea in her $6,000 gown. The venue with its spectacular downtown views. The guests were elegant. Everything was perfect. All financed with debt that Russell and his family would carry for years. And there wasn't a single photo of Eleanor genuinely smiling. In every picture, she looked tense, forced, as if she was there physically, but not emotionally. 2 days after the wedding, Eleanor returned home. She walked in without a word, went straight to the room we shared, and started packing her things. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to move in with Andrea and Russell for a while. I need space to think." "Think about what?" "About whether I want to stay married to a man who was so cruel to my daughter." "Eleanor, answer me honestly. If Andrea had treated me with respect these past 5 years, if she had truly seen me as family, would we be in this situation?" "It's not about that." "Yes, it is about that, Eleanor. For 5 years, your daughter used me, and for 5 years, you enabled it. You never told her it was wrong to accept so much money without giving anything in return. You never told her she should treat me with more respect. You just expected me to keep giving while she always kept taking. You're her stepfather. It's your responsibility to help her. No, my responsibility is to treat her with kindness and respect. Her responsibility is to reciprocate that respect, and she never did." Eleanor finished packing and left without saying goodbye. For the next few weeks, I lived alone in the big house that suddenly felt empty. Monica, my trusted secretary and friend for years, noticed the change. "Mr. Rhodes, are you okay? You look very tired. I'm going through a difficult family situation. Is there anything I can do to help?" "No, but thank you. I just need time to process everything." 2 weeks after Eleanor left, I received a text from Russell. "Mr. Rhodes, I need to talk to you urgently. It's about Andrea." We met again at the same coffee shop. "Mr. Rhodes, I canceled the honeymoon." "Why?" "Because Andrea wanted to go to the Maldives, a trip that would cost another $15,000. Mr. Rhodes, we already have $50,000 in debt from the wedding. I can't take on more debt." "And how did Andrea react?" "Terribly. She told me I was disappointing her, that all her friends had amazing honeymoons, that I was cheap. Mr. Rhodes, we've been married for 2 weeks, and we're already fighting constantly about money. And Eleanor is still living with you two? Yes. And Mr. Rhodes, it's awkward. Andrea and Eleanor spend all their time talking about how cruel you were, how you ruined the wedding. They conveniently forget that you paid about $50,000 before canceling. Why are you telling me this? Because, Mr. Rhodes, I need advice. I'm starting to think I made a huge mistake marrying Andrea. How did you know? How did you see who she really was? I didn't see it at first. I let the love I felt for Eleanor blind me. But eventually, when Andrea stopped pretending, when she felt everything was secure, she showed her true character. And Russell, I hate to tell you this, but it's probably going to get worse. Why? Because now you're legally tied to her. Before, you could leave. Now, if you want to leave, there's divorce, division of assets, maybe alimony. And Andrea knows that. She feels secure, so she no longer has to pretend. Russell looked devastated. What do I do? Set boundaries now. Tell her no more unnecessary spending until the debt is paid. Tell her she needs to contribute equally to household expenses. And Russell, if she doesn't respect those boundaries, if she keeps expecting you to finance a lifestyle you can't afford, then get out before children are involved. Are you going to divorce Eleanor? Probably. Because Eleanor made it clear she chose Andrea over me, over our marriage. And I can't be in a marriage where my dignity is negotiable. Don't be sorry, you warned me. I wish I had listened. 1 month after the wedding, Eleanor finally called. Marcus, we need to talk. About what? About us? About the divorce? About maybe you being right. Right about what? About Andrea. Marcus. I've been living with her and Russell, and I've seen things I didn't want to see. The way she talks to Russell when he doesn't give her money for something she wants. The way she constantly complains about not having enough. The way she talks about you, not with hurt, but with resentment, that someone finally set boundaries with her. And I realized I enabled her for years, ever since she was a child. Every time she wanted something, I gave it to her. I never taught her the value of money, the value of work. And then, when you came into our lives, I continued to allow her to expect everything, without giving anything in return. Eleanor, I appreciate you finally seeing it, but that doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change that you chose to defend her, even when she treated me terribly. It doesn't change that you threatened divorce if I didn't go to a wedding where I was unwanted. I know. And Marcus, I don't expect you to forgive me immediately. I just want you to know that I finally understand and that I am sorry. And Andrea, does she understand too? Andrea is still convinced you're the villain, that you were cruel and unfair. I can't make her see the truth. Then nothing has really changed, Eleanor. The apology is yours, but the problem is Andrea. And as long as you continue to prioritize her above everything else, as long as you continue to enable her behavior, nothing can change between us. Are you saying I have to choose between my daughter and my husband? I'm saying you need to stop letting your adult daughter manipulate you, that you need to set boundaries with her, just as I did. And until you do that, yes, I am saying I cannot continue in this marriage. Eleanor cried over the phone. Give me time. Let me try to fix this. You have all the time you need. But Eleanor, while you're doing that, I'm going to move forward with my life. I won't wait for you indefinitely. 3 months after the wedding, my life had completely changed. Eleanor and I were officially separated, though we hadn't yet filed for divorce. She was still living with Andrea and Russell in what she described as helping them settle into their marriage. I, for my part, had immersed myself in work. I expanded the company, opened 2 new production plants, and developed 3 new medications. Work was my refuge from the emotional pain, but the peace didn't last long. I received a call from my lawyer, Mr. Fuentes. "Mr. Rhodes, I have news. Eleanor has filed for divorce." Finally. What are the terms? Here's where it gets interesting. She's asking for half of all assets acquired during the marriage. And Mr. Rhodes, during the 5 years you were married, the company grew significantly. She's alleging she deserves compensation for that growth. We were married under separation of assets. I checked that specifically before we got married. Correct. But her lawyer is arguing that Eleanor contributed indirectly to the company's growth by managing the home and supporting you emotionally, allowing you to focus on the business. That's ridiculous. Eleanor worked full-time. She wasn't a homemaker. I know, which is why I don't think they have a strong case. But Mr. Rhodes, there's something else. Andrea has filed her own lawsuit. What? Andrea is suing me? Yes. She's alleging you made verbal promises to her about the condo, that she and Russell made financial decisions based on those promises, and that you reneged, causing them economic damage. I never promised anything. I gave her a check, then canceled it when she had insulted me. That's what we'll argue. But Mr. Rhodes, things are going to get ugly. Andrea has text messages where you talk about helping her with the down payment. Her lawyer will try to paint that as a contractual promise. Let them try. I will not yield to this manipulation. Andrea's lawsuit was particularly offensive because it was drafted to paint me as a cruel man who had used his position of power to control and then punish his stepdaughter. The document was full of exaggerations and half-truths. The defendant, Marcus Rhodes, established a pattern of financial control over the plaintiff for 5 years. He provided expensive gifts and financial support with the expectation of obedience. When the plaintiff exercised her right to set boundaries at her own wedding, the defendant vindictively withdrew all support, including a condo he had explicitly promised. The defendant caused the plaintiff severe emotional distress, forcing her to incur significant debt for her wedding after she had planned everything based on his promises. The plaintiff seeks compensation of $1.5 million for economic and emotional damages, a roughly calculated sum for damages and emotional distress. When I read the lawsuit, I felt a mixture of anger and something akin to admiration for the sheer audacity. Andrea genuinely believed she deserved to be compensated for losing access to my money. Mr. Fuentes, how serious is this lawsuit? Legally, not very serious. She has no evidence of a contractual promise, and the fact that she excluded you from the wedding after you paid most of the expenses works against her. But, Mr. Rhodes, these lawsuits are rarely about winning in court. They're about pressuring you to settle. I won't settle. If Andrea wants to fight this in court, let her. The lawsuits were leaked to the press because, apparently, Andrea decided that if she couldn't win in court, she would win in public opinion. She gave interviews to local papers. She appeared on talk shows, always with the same narrative. Marcus Rhodes is a controlling man who uses his money to manipulate people. For years, he made me believe he would support me, that he was my family. But when I set a simple boundary at my own wedding, he punished me by taking everything away, including a condo he had promised. Now, my husband and I are in debt for years because of him. The story resonated with some people. There were comments on social media criticizing me. Rich people think they can control people with money. What kind of stepfather abandons his stepdaughter on her wedding day? Andrea is right to sue. He promised her that condo. But there were also other comments from people who saw through the narrative. Wait, he paid most of the wedding, and then she excluded him? That changes everything. Just someone who pays for things? Andrea actually said that, and then expects him to keep paying? Mr. Rhodes set healthy boundaries. Andrea is the manipulator here. I decided to break my silence, not with dramatic interviews like Andrea, but with a simple, direct statement published on the Rhodes Pharmaceuticals website. I have seen the public accusations made by Andrea Hawthorne, my stepdaughter, and I feel obligated to clarify some facts. For 5 years, I supported Andrea financially. I paid for her education, her international courses, bought her a car, paid for the majority of her wedding, and considered helping her with a condo. At no point was this support mandatory. It was voluntary, given with the hope of building a family relationship. And weeks before her wedding, after I had already paid approximately $50,000 in expenses, Andrea sent me a message saying I could not attend the wedding because it was a family event, not for strangers. When I asked if this decision came from her, she confirmed yes, that I was not truly family, just someone who pays for things. In response, I canceled the pending payments and the condo check. Not out of revenge, but because I finally understood that Andrea saw me only as a source of money. Andrea could have had her wedding. She simply had to pay for it herself, as millions of couples do. I do not apologize for setting boundaries with someone who used me for years, and I will not pay compensation for withdrawing a gift that was completely voluntary. This will be my only public statement on the matter. The response to the statement was immediate. The narrative began to shift. More people questioned Andrea's version. Okay, so he paid $50,000 for the wedding, and then she excluded him. That changes everything. She called him a stranger and then still expects him to pay? Mr. Rhodes established healthy limits. Andrea is the manipulator here. Andrea tried to respond with another dramatic video, crying, saying I had twisted the truth. But it was too late. Enough people had seen through her narrative. The lawsuits reached their first hearing 4 months after the wedding. The judge listened to both sides. Andrea's lawyer presented text messages where I had said, "I'll help you with the down payment," as evidence of a contractual promise. Eleanor's lawyer argued she deserved compensation for the company's growth during our marriage. When it was my turn, Mr. Fuentes was direct. "Your Honor, these cases are attempts at financial manipulation disguised as legitimate lawsuits. Let's start with Andrea Hawthorne. The evidence shows that Mr. Rhodes voluntarily supported her for 5 years. There was no contract, no legal obligation. When Ms. Hawthorne excluded the provider of that support from her wedding after he paid for the majority of the expenses, Mr. Rhodes exercised his right to withdraw voluntary support. And the condo promise, Your Honor. Helping with the down payment does not constitute a contractual promise. Mr. Rhodes considered helping, but that consideration ended when Ms. Hawthorne made it clear she saw him only as a source of money. We have the message where she admits that Mr. Rhodes is just someone who pays for things. The judge reviewed the messages. Ms. Hawthorne actually wrote that? Yes, Your Honor. And after writing that, after excluding him from the wedding, she still expected him to give her $35,000 for a condo. And the case of Eleanor Rhodes, Your Honor. Mr. Rhodes and Mrs. Rhodes were married under separation of assets. That was their choice. She cannot now, in the divorce, claim rights she specifically rejected by choosing that marital regime. Eleanor's lawyer tried to argue there was an implicit understanding that Eleanor would eventually share the assets. But when the judge asked Kane for evidence of that understanding, he could provide nothing concrete. After hearing all the arguments, the judge paused, then spoke. I have reviewed all the evidence in both cases, and frankly, I am disappointed. These cases represent exactly the type of legal manipulation that clogs our judicial system. He turned to Andrea. Ms. Hawthorne, you accepted financial support for 5 years. You then excluded the provider of that support from your wedding, calling him a stranger. And now you sue for compensation because he withdrew voluntary support. This has no legal merit whatsoever. Case dismissed. Then he turned to Eleanor. Mrs. Rhodes, you married under separation of assets. That was your choice. You cannot now claim rights that you specifically rejected. Your case is also dismissed. Furthermore, both plaintiffs will pay the defendant's legal costs. These frivolous lawsuits have consequences. Andrea and Eleanor left the court devastated, and I left feeling not joy, but a kind of quiet sadness. I had won legally, but I had lost a family. 2 weeks after the court ruling, I received an unexpected text. It was from Russell. Mr. Rhodes, Andrea and I are getting divorced. You were right about everything you told me. I asked her to change, to contribute equally, to stop spending money we don't have. She refused. She says she deserves a certain lifestyle, and that it's my job to provide it. I can't live like this. And how is Eleanor? Devastated. I think she's finally seeing who Andrea really is. But it's hard for a mother to admit that about her child. Does Andrea know you're texting me? No, and she wouldn't care. She's too busy blaming me for giving up on our marriage. I'm sorry, Russell. Don't be. You warned me. I wish I had listened. 1 month later, Eleanor showed up at my door. She looked tired, older, as if the last few months had been years. Marcus, can I come in? What for? To apologize. Truly. No agenda, no asking for anything, just to apologize. I let her in. We sat in the living room where we had spent so many happy nights before everything fell apart. Marcus, you were right about Andrea. About everything. I enabled her for years. I defended her when I shouldn't have. I prioritized her comfort over your dignity and destroyed our marriage in the process. Eleanor, I appreciate you finishing that sentence. I've been living with Andrea these months, and I've seen things I didn't want to see. The way she treated Russell when he wouldn't give her money for something she wanted. The way she talks about you, not with pain, but with pure resentment that someone finally told her no. The way she blames me now for not controlling my husband. She blames you. Yes. She says if I'd been a better wife, you would have continued supporting her. That it's my fault she lost the condo. Marcus, my daughter is getting divorced after 4 months of marriage because she couldn't accept living without luxuries she can't afford. And instead of reflecting, she blames everyone but herself. And now what? Now, I finally told her what I should have told her years ago, that she needs to grow up, that she needs to get a better job, or a second job if she wants the lifestyle she wants, and that I am no longer going to financially rescue her. And Marcus, she went ballistic. She told me I'm as cruel as you are, that I'm abandoning her. And how do you feel? Free. For the first time in years. Free because I finally stopped letting her manipulate me. I finally set boundaries. I'm glad to hear that, Eleanor, really. Marcus, is there any chance we can try again? To rebuild what we had? Eleanor, I love you, but I can't go back to a relationship where your daughter has so much power, where every decision has to be filtered through. But what will Andrea think? It won't be like that anymore. Marcus, Andrea and I barely speak now. She's furious with me. And while it hurts, it's also liberating. And if in 6 months, Andrea comes crying with an emergency, if she needs money or help, are you going to maintain your boundaries? Or are you going to cave? Eleanor thought for a long time. I don't know. She's my daughter. She will always be my weakness. But Marcus, I can promise you, I will never again expect you to rescue her. My boundaries with her are mine to keep, not yours. That's all that I can ask. We spent the next few hours talking about the pain of the last few months, the lessons learned, and what we would need to rebuild trust. It won't be fast, I told her. I need time to heal, time to trust again. I understand, but can I stay? Can I come home? You can come back, but Eleanor, with clear conditions. If Andrea ever becomes a problem between us again, if you prioritize her demands over our marriage again, it's over for good. There will be no third chance, understood? Understood. And Marcus, I accept that because I finally understand that a healthy marriage requires the two of us to be the priority, not the adult children, not the extended family, us. Eleanor moved back and gradually, first only sleeping at home, then slowly bringing her things, and slowly, very slowly, we began to rebuild. 6 months after that disastrous wedding, Andrea finally called. Not me, but Eleanor. I overheard the conversation because Eleanor put it on speaker. Mom, I need help. I'm about to be evicted from my apartment. I can't pay the rent. Andrea, you have a job. It doesn't pay enough. I need you to lend me money, just $4,000 to catch up. No. What? Mom, it's an emergency. It's a consequence, Andrea, of living beyond your means, of not adjusting your lifestyle to your financial reality. I can't believe you're doing this to me. After everything Marcus did to me, now you're abandoning me too. Andrea, Marcus didn't do anything to you except set healthy boundaries. And I am doing the same thing. If you can't afford your apartment, get a cheaper one. Get a second job. Sell things. There are many options, but I am no longer one of them. You're a terrible mother. I'm a mother who is finally doing the right thing. Andrea hung up, and Eleanor cried. But they were tears of liberation, not guilt. Are you okay? I asked her. I'm fine. It hurts, but I know I did the right thing. 1 year after that disastrous wedding, Eleanor and I renewed our vows. It was a small, intimate ceremony with only close friends. Andrea was not invited because, although Eleanor maintained minimal contact with her, we both knew that Andrea in our lives meant drama. Andrea eventually lost her apartment, moved into something more modest, got a second job, and according to Eleanor, began to mature. Very slowly, very gradually. But she began to understand that the world didn't owe her the lifestyle she desired. Maybe in a few years, Eleanor told me one night, when Andrea has truly changed, we can try to rebuild some kind of relationship. Maybe. But Eleanor, if that happens, it will be on my terms, with clear boundaries, no expensive gifts, no financial rescues, just a basic relationship of mutual respect. That's fair. If you are listening to this story, if it resonates with you in any way, I want you to understand one fundamental thing. Generosity must not be confused with being used. My stepdaughter sent me a text message telling me I couldn't go to her wedding because it was a family event, not for strangers. But I had paid for that wedding. I had paid for her education, her car, everything for 5 years. My response was simple but devastating. I canceled the pending payments, canceled the condo I had considered buying for her, and set boundaries I should have set years earlier. It was painful. It almost destroyed my marriage. It resulted in frivolous lawsuits, public attacks, and months of conflict. But it was necessary because Andrea never saw me as family. She saw me as a source of money. And when I threatened that source, she showed her true character. That day, when she told me I wasn't welcome at her wedding, I understood who she really was. And that understanding, though painful, was liberating because it allowed me to stop pretending we could have a real relationship. It allowed me to stop confusing generosity with love. It allowed me to finally establish healthy boundaries. From my home in Buckhead at 61 years old, and with a marriage rebuilt on a more solid foundation, I wish you the courage to recognize when you are being used, to distinguish between people who love you and people who love what you can do for them. And I wish you the wisdom to set boundaries, even when it hurts, even when people call you cruel, even when it seems like you will lose everything. Because in the end, setting boundaries didn't cost me my family. It revealed that I had never truly been family to Andrea. And that truth, though painful, was worth more than any amount of money I could have given her. My stepdaughter called me a stranger, and I responded by treating her as what she made me, someone outside my circle of unlimited generosity. It was the best decision I could have made. Did you like my story? If you listened till the end, drop a number 1 in the comments. If you enjoyed it, you can support me by liking the video and sending a small tip. I've got lots of other life stories like this on my channel, so make sure to subscribe and check them out. I've added two new stories on screen that everyone loves. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. With love.